This video covers the Algebra Fall Final Exam Review over pages 9 through 12. Problem 42 asks us to write the equation of a horizontal line that passes through the point 9, -6. So a horizontal line is a special case that would make it a HOI. HOI has the letter y in it, so it needs to be y equals the y point of my point. An undefined slope would be a vux, so another special case. This means it only has one letter, and x equals the x point of your point. 44 asks for us to do an equation that is parallel to the x-axis that passes through the point 2, 3. So the point 2, 3 is about here-ish. Parallel to x means it looks like the same as x, so this will be a HOI. So y equals the y point of your point. Perpendicular to the x-axis that goes through 5, 7. 5, 7 is here. Perpendicular to x cuts through x. This is a vertical line, so it is a vux. So x equals the x point of your point. Going through the point -4, 6, parallel to y means it's the same as y. This is a vertical line, so it would be a vux. So x equals the x point of our point. And then through the point 2, 3, perpendicular to y, meaning it cuts through y, would make it a HOI. So y equals the y point of your point that you are given. 48 asks us to graph this inequality. In order to graph, I need to solve for y, so I move x to the other side through the opposite operation. And then divide everything by 2. So y is less than -3x minus 7. So I graph, I go down to 7 on the y-axis, and then down 3, right 1. I can also go up 3, left 1. This inequality symbol tells me it is going to be a dashed line because there's no line under the inequality. And if y is less than -7, less than is lower than. Lower than -7 would be -8, -9, -10. So anything underneath this line or lower than the line would be a solution. Problem 48 asks us which of the following coordinates would represent a solution to the problem above. So if I plot these, 110 way up here is not a solution. -4, 2 up here is not a solution. -2, 1 here is not a solution. And -4, -1. Oh. I graphed B wrong. -1, -4 is on the line, but because the line is not included, it is not part. I graphed B wrong, -4, 2. I did -2, 4. So -4, 2 is in my shaded area and therefore is a solution to my inequality because it's in the shaded area. 50 asks us to graph both of these. So this is a system of inequalities. Both of these, in order to graph, I have to solve for y. So I move x to the other side. Y is greater than -x plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and graph this one. This one is going to be a dashed line, and y is greater than 3, so greater than would be above 3. So I go to 3 on the y-axis, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. Again, it is a dashed line. And everything greater than 3 on the y-axis is everything above 3, so we shade above the line. For my second equation, I still need to solve that one for y as well. I move the x, and I have a positive 4x plus 4. Y is now by itself. This will be a solid line, and y is less than 4. Less than means lower than 4. So I go up to 4 on the y-axis. I go up 4, right 1 for my slope. This is a solid line, and greater than 4 means above 4. Remember, my solution area when graphing inequalities is the part where they overlap. So this would be my solution area because that is where they cross. Oh, man. Okay, hold on. I said lower than. So sorry. So on the line I just graphed, I wrote that it was lower, but I shaded above. So lower than 4 goes underneath 4. So the part where the graphs cross, that is my solution area. I apologize. I wrote it right, I did it wrong. 51 gives us a table and asks us to find the function that could be used to represent the table above. So I'm going to put this in stat edit. I did it a bunch of times in video 2 on a regular calculator, so I'm going to do it on mine. It's very similar, just not exactly the same. So remember, if there's anything in there, you need to clear it out. My x's are 1, 2, and 3. My y's are 3, 5, and 7. Stat calc 4. Enter, enter, enter. And we get 2x plus 1. So part A, what function could be used to represent this? Y equals 2x plus 1. Then they ask us what is the value of y when x is 5. So this is where we would plug in 5 for x and solve. So 2 times 5 plus 1 is 11. We could also put 2x plus 1 and y equals and look at the table. 52 asks us if this is a direct variation. If so, write its equation. Again, we have a table. So I'm going to go back to my stat, edit, put the table in. And click stat, calc 4, enter, enter, enter. So my equation is y equals 3x plus 0. Because of this, my answer to is it a direct variation is yes. Because there is nothing being added or subtracted, it is an example of direct variation. Even if that was 3x plus 0.25, it no longer is a direct variation. 53 tells us if y varies directly as x and y is 72 and x is 30, find the equation that represents this situation. So because I know it's a direct variation, I know it has to include the point 0, 0, and then y is 72 when x is 30. I now have a table that I can put into stat edit. So 0 and 30, 0 and 72. Stat, calc, 4, enter, enter, enter. And we get 2.4x. Remember that you can do 2.4 math, enter, enter, and it will tell you it is also the fraction 12 over 5 on your final. Some of them will be decimals and some of them will be fractions, so you need to know both. 54 asks us to identify the linear parent function. The linear parent function is the most basic line that has had nothing done to the slope and nothing done to the y-intercept. It goes through 0, 0 and has a slope of 1. So y equals x is our basic equation. The slope is 1 because there's that invisible ninja 1, and our b value is 0. 55 asks us to draw the graph that represents this equation, so I need to solve for y. I move 5x to the other side through the opposite operation. And then divide everything by -3. So y equals 5/3 x minus 5. Now this is not an inequality, this is just a normal line, so I go down to 5, I go up 5, right 3, up 5, right 3, and draw my line. There's no shading. I don't have to worry about dashed or solid lines. However, problem 56 is a system of inequalities. Both of these are already solved, so we just have to graph them. Both of these lines will be dashed because they both do not have lines under the inequality. The red one, y is less than, so that will be lower than 5. And then y is greater than, so that will be above -8. So for the red equation, I start at 5 on the y-axis, and I go up 3, right 1, or down 3, left 1. It is a dashed line. And I shade lower than or underneath the line Remember that you use the y-axis to go underneath 5, and then anything underneath 5, wherever it goes above or below on your equation or on your line, is where you shade. For the blue line, I start down at -8, and I go up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. This is also a dashed line. And this one we shade above -8. Above -8 is on top of the y-axis. So I shade everything on top of my y-axis up to the blue line. And my solution set is where they cross. So where the red meets the blue, I'm coloring pink. And that is my solution area. 57 is a system of equations. They tell me Slotchki's a cost for a cinnamon roll and a soft drink is $3. The cost for 3 cinnamon rolls and 2 soft drinks is $8. Write a set of equations and determine the cost of the cinnamon roll and the soft drink. So I'm going to put one order in one equation. I have 1 cinnamon roll and 1 soft drink. That equals $3. And then my second order has 3 cinnamon rolls and 2 soft drinks for $8. Now when I solve, this is where we can solve for one letter, or because my C's are lined up, my S's are lined up, my answers are lined up, I can use matrices. So 1, 1, 3, 3, 2, 8. I'm going to do this one in my calculator. So on my calculator, I click second matrix. I scroll over to math because I want the calculator to do some math. And I scroll up to B because I want to have a really rapid equation fixer do all the work for me and put out my answer. I click alpha zoom. I want a 2 by 3. If those are not selected, you go to whatever number you want and click enter. And so don't click OK until the numbers that you want are bolded. From here, I'm putting in what I have and using the right arrows to scroll over. So 1, 1, 3, and 3, 2, 8. So I make sure this looks exactly like my paper, and I click enter. The 1001 tells me that this is a normal natural solution, and the 2 and the 1 are my solutions. So I'm going to come back and write it on my paper and figure out what that means. So when I input my letters, I plugged in C and S, so my answers come out C and S. This means it is $2 for a cinnamon roll and $1 for a soft drink. You do need to label which one is which, because on your test you're going to have some where they're just asking you for a specific, like how much is a cinnamon roll, and you're going to need to know which one is which. When you write your answer, if it's open-ended, then you need to make sure that you say which number goes with which variable. 58 tells us that the graph of f of x equals 2x plus 4 is changed to g of x, where the slope is multiplied by -1 and the y-intercept is changed to -8. Describe the changes on the graph. So I'm going to graph my original. Starts at 4, goes up to right 1, up to right 1. So this is f of x. Now g of x, the slope is multiplied by -1. So 2 times -1 is -2x. The y-intercept is changed to -8, meaning it is completely replaced. I don't do anything with the 4, I just replace the 4. So this would start down at 8 and go down to right 1, or up to left 1, up to left 1, up to left 1. So the changes being made, my slope is negative. And then I can see that they will cross at -3, -2 right here. And I can also see g of x starts lower. So my y-intercept is underneath the original. 59 asked me to describe the relationship between the graphs of the equations below. This one is already solved for me, so I can start by plotting my beginning point at 4 and going down 1, right 5, down 1, right 5. This other equation is not solved yet for y, so I need to solve for y. I subtract 3x from both sides, so 4y equals negative 3x plus 16. Divide everything by 4, and y equals negative 3/4 x plus 4. So we start at 4 and go down 3, right 4, down 3, right 4, and plot our lines. The relationship that exists is that we have the same y-intercept. They both start at the same place on the y-axis. And problem 60 asks me for the solution in the system to problem 59. The solution is where it crosses, and they cross at the point 0, 4, which in this case just happens to be their y-intercepts. Problem 61 asks me which inequality represents the graph shown below. So I have a graph that is starting at 4 and going down 1, right 5. So that would be y negative 1/5 x plus 4. And y is everything lower than or less than 4. It is a filled in line, so I do have the less than sign. Now when I look at my answers, all of these are in standard form. So to move things into standard form, I have to move x to the other side through the opposite operation. So 1/5 x plus y is less than or equal to 4. And then I multiply to get rid of my fraction. Everything gets multiplied by 5. 1/5 times 5 is 1. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 4 is 20. The one that looks like this is answer choice B. So remember, standard form, x's and y's are on both sides, and you cannot have fractions. If you can get to the red part, but you can't work backwards, you could solve all of these for y and see which one matches. 62 asked me to draw a graph to represent this solution set. It is an inequality, so I have to be careful. I move 6x to the other side, so 3y is less than or equal to negative 6x plus 12. Divide everything by 3, so y is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 4. This line will be solid, and y is less than 4. Less than means lower than. So I start at 4, and I go down 3, right 1, down 3, right 1. It is a solid line, and I shade lower than the line on the y-axis. Lower than means underneath. 63 says Mark works at Kroger and he gets $6 an hour for moving pallets around in the stock room. His paycheck also includes a $30 fee for a specialization of the machinery. The function to describe this scenario is f of x equals 6x plus 30. So what they're saying here is everything we just told you can be represented by this. He must work more than 15 hours to get the extra $30, but cannot work over 20 hours. Which of the following describes the range? So what we know is that he gets paid $6 an hour, and if we have x times 6, then x equals hours. So what I'm going to do is put this into y equals, and look at x's between 15 to 20, because they tell me he has to work more than 15, but no more than 20. So in y equals, I'm going to type in 6x plus 30 and click second graph to look at my table. In my table, I am looking for where x's are between 15 and 20. When x is 15, y is 120. So any answer that does not have a 120 in it can immediately be taken out. This does not have a 120. This does not have a 120. This does not have a 120. J is the only one that has a 120. So J must be my answer. J is all of the y values listed from 15 to 20. 64 tells us that a librarian is moving a set of boxes, and each box can hold 15 pounds of books. She can put up to 8 boxes on the dolly, which already weighs 10 pounds. The dolly's weight can be represented by this function. So that's the 15 pounds of books plus the 10 pounds it already weighs. What is the range for this function? So in order to find the range, we need to talk about what x could be. X represents 15 times the boxes. It says they can do 15 pounds of books. Or I'm sorry, each box holds 15 pounds. So X is the amount of boxes. She can put 0 boxes on there, or she can put anything up to 8 boxes. So we're going to plug in 15x plus 10 in y equals. Click second graph, and I need to start at 0 on the x's and write down all of my y's. So my y's are 10, 25, 40, 55, 70, 85, 100, 115, and 130. So I'm going to write all of those down. And then the rate of change for the function is whatever is with x. So this is 15 pounds per box, 15y per x.